He sounded calm on the phone. To calm. The kind of calm that makes your stomach tighten because your brain knows something your ears are not ready to admit. A teenage boy calls emergency services and says his home has been ransacked, cabinets open, glass on the floor, drawers dumbed. His mother's car is in the driveway, still running, but she is nowhere inside. And if you stay with me until the end, you will see how one small detail in that first call, one strange choice of words, becomes the thread that unravels a secret so horrifying that even seasoned investigators have trouble keeping their faces still. Because this story is not only about what happened in that house, it is about what happens in a human mind when fear turns into performance, when guilt turns into control, and when someone believes they can outsmart reality by rearranging it. If you have ever listened to someone talk and felt something was off, but you could not prove it, you already know the feeling this case produces. You can sense the tension beneath the words. You can hear a person trying to steer you. You can feel the difference between panic and acting. And here is the promise of this video. By the time we reach the end, you will understand how investigators build truth from contradictions, why certain behaviors set off alarms, and how a single decision to lie about something small can collapse an entire story. You will also understand the chilling way a secret spreads, not like a confession, but like a virus, carried from one person to another until nobody can pretend they are clean. Because this is the kind of case that forces one question into the air and refuses to leave. When someone realizes the police discovered his horrifying secret, what exactly was the secret? And how long did he think he could keep it buried? Now let's set the scene. A quiet neighborhood, a normal school day. A teenager comes home, expecting routine. Instead, he walks into chaos. He says he searches for his mother. He says he cannot find her. He says her car being there makes no sense. He says he is scared. And then he starts talking like someone who has rehearsed being scared. If that sentence irritates you, good. That irritation is your instincts working. Most people do not want to believe someone can fake distress in a moment like this. Most people want the world to make emotional sense. If someone's mother is missing, they should sound shattered. They should sound messy. They should sound human. But there is another kind of voice. A voice that narrates itself. A voice that adds unnecessary detail. A voice that does not ask for help so much as it tells a story. This case begins with that voice. Officers arrive and walk through the home. The damage is beyond a typical burglary. It looks personal. It looks like someone wanted to destroy more than steal. And that matters because destruction is a message. Theft is a goal. Destruction is emotion. The teenager is taken to the station for safety while the scene is processed. There, he meets someone he trusts, someone connected to a youth law enforcement program. A mentor figure, a calming presence. And you would expect a kid in this moment to repeat the same question again and again. Where is my mom? Are you looking for her? Did you find her? But he does something else. He manages the room. He watches reactions. He answers in a way that feels controlled, as if the real emergency is not his missing mother, but the narrative forming around him. And this is where the case quietly shifts from a search to a suspicion, because investigators do not only listen for facts, they listen for patterns, for what a person emphasizes, for what a person avoids, for what a person insists on before anyone asked. And this boy insists on something strange. He keeps saying he would never hurt his mother. It repeats it again and again, with the kind of intensity that makes you wonder why he is building a defense before the accusation has even arrived. In the beginning, it still looks like a burglary, a missing person, a frantic afternoon. But as the interview continues, the smallest cracks begin to show. He remembers exact minutes for some things, yet claims not to know basic times for others. He offers precise details when it benefits him, and vague fog when details might trap him. He explains too much, and then explains why he is explaining. He describes himself as logical, controlled, mature. Then he slips, not with a scream, not with a breakdown, not with a confession, with one sentence that sounds like a person accidentally letting a thought escape. I hope she is safe. Hope is a normal word. But in this context, it lands differently. Because it is a step past uncertainty, it is a step toward the possibility he is already living with, and the room feels it. The mentor figure feels it. The investigators feel it, because when someone is truly in shock, their words are disorganized. They stumble. They repeat. They ask. They do not carefully choose a tone that sounds appropriate. This teen sounds appropriate. Too appropriate. And in cases like this, that is where the real horror begins. The detective does what good detectives do. He builds a timeline. Not a dramatic timeline, not a cinematic montage, a boring timeline. The kind that feels like paperwork, because truth can survive boredom. Lies usually cannot. Where were you last night? What time did you get home? What did you eat? What happened after dinner? What did your mom do? Did you two fight? Did you speak to anyone? Where was your phone? Who was with you? Simple questions, the kind you answer without thinking, unless thinking is required, and that is the first red flag. He keeps buying time. He repeats questions before answering them. He pauses too long on basic facts. He says he does not remember the last name of a friend who supposedly punched him in the face. Suddenly, he remembers more details, but then he switches it up again. It is not that any one inconsistency proves guilt. It is that the inconsistencies cluster around the places where guilt would need cover. The detective notices marks on his face, bruises, scratches. The teen shares a story about a fight with a friend, followed by a quick hug to make up, a convenient moral lesson, and he says he used makeup to cover it because he did not want to be seen with scars. That detail matters, because it reveals something. He is thinking about optics. He is thinking about how he looks. He is thinking about what people will conclude. That is not automatically guilt, but it is an early sign of the mindset that will dominate the rest of this case. Shape how people see it. Guide where they land. Craft the narrative. The detective keeps going. He asks about the moment the teen arrived home from school. The teen describes the messy house, the missing items, a gaming computer, a bow, a weapon. He clearly details what's missing. Then, his concern for his mom comes through, but it feels different somehow. It sounds like he is performing concern, not experiencing it. Again, you cannot convict someone for sounding odd. Trauma can make people act strange. People freeze, people dissociate, people pull away. But at first, investigators just need a clue, and the direction starts pointing back to him. Another crack shows up when he casually mentions changing his shirt after getting home. Think about that. You walk into your home, and your world has been ripped open. Your mother is missing. Her car is running. The house looks violated. The air feels wrong, and you stop to change your shirt. He explains it as sweat, nausea, throwing up, discomfort. He gives a long explanation for a small act. Long explanations are not always lies, but they often appear when someone is afraid a small act will look suspicious. And by now, the detective has a strategy. He starts digging into details that can be checked, like school attendance, cameras, checkout records, witnesses. The teen claims he was at school all day. Then the detective reveals that the school says he left early. The teen does not react like an innocent kid caught in a misunderstanding. He reacts like a person caught in a contradiction. He freezes. He calculates. And then he offers a new story. He says he skipped class to do homework in an auditorium. He admits he lied about being in class because he did not want the detective to think badly of him. That sounds reasonable on the surface, but it destroys credibility. Because if he lied about something small, now every larger claim becomes flexible. And the detective uses that. He says, "I need the truth because your mother is missing." Then he asks the question that changes everything. Would it be far-fetched to think you came home and hurt your mother? A normal, innocent response might be outrage, disbelief, panic, tears, anger. This teen responds like a person listening to a negotiation. He deflects. He questions why. He denies, but with a strange calm. And then, when the pressure rises, He does something that seems designed to pull the room back toward him. He shares a dramatic personal history. Pain, darkness, attempts to hurt himself. His mother saving him. His mother as a hero Ida Kanbe. Rea. It can also be a tactic. And investigators are trained to hold both possibilities at once, because in interrogation rooms, emotion is not always innocence. Sometimes emotion is leverage. And while the teen is trying to stabilize the narrative, the detectives do what they always do. They leave the room, not because they are done, because they are verifying, because the fastest way to break a lie is to compare it to other mouths. So while he sits in that room, arms crossed, eyes tracking every movement, the detectives start talking to the people who can either protect him or destroy him. His friends. And that is where the secret begins to spread. 2 friends. 2 separate interviews. 2 separate rooms. The teen in the other room doesn't get it yet. A lie isn't a wall. It's a bridge. And bridges collapse when more than one person tries to stand on them. At first, the friends minimize their connection to him. They act casual. They act tired. They act like they have no idea why they were brought in. Normal teenager behavior. Until the questions become sharper. Did you see him after lunch? Did you leave school with him? Did you go to his house? Did he give you anything? Did he ask you to hold anything? And then something crucial happens. One friend casually mentions he has a bow that the teen said was stolen. But guess what? It's just sitting in his room, totally not missing. That is not a minor detail. That is an earthquake. Because now the detectives know the burglary might not be a burglary. It might be staged, and staged scenes always point to someone who had the time and motive to stage them. The friend tries to explain it away. He says he borrowed it. He says he thought it was cool. He says he collects things. The detective listens but isn't buying it. He keeps digging. Why? Would you borrow it? Why would he give it to you now? What else did he give you? And the friend starts listing more. A gaming computer? A laptop? Other valuables. Items the teen claimed were stolen. Not stolen by burglars, but past 2 friends. Now the detectives have a clear path they can't ignore. If the teen is giving away valuables and asking friends to dump items, that suggests not panic, but planning. Not victimhood, but containment. Not a burglary, but a cover. And then the friend says the words that snap the case into a different shape. He told us something big happened. He told us he did it. He told us he killed his mother. Those words are so heavy that people expect the room to explode when they are said. But interrogation rooms do not explode. They itichten. The detectives do not jump. They do not celebrate. They do not shout. They get quiet. Because now they must be careful. Because now every word matters. Because now they must separate teenage exaggeration from reality. Because teens sometimes say insane things for attention, for shock, for drama. But then the details start arriving. Not dramatic details. Operational details. We went to his house. It was torn up. A run inside. He handed us things. He told us what to keep. He told us what to throw away. We dumped items in a dumpster. He mentioned a location near a church, a fire pit, a trunk, water. And now the detectives are no longer dealing with a story. They are dealing with recoverable evidence. This is the difference between rumor and confession. Evidence has weight. It can be found. It can be photographed. It can be carried into court. It can be placed on a table and pointed at. And as the friends talk, another chilling element appears. A lack of emotion. Not crying. Not shaking. Not horror. More like inconvenience. Fear of trouble. Fear of parents. Fear of consequences that feel small compared to what they are describing. This emotional mismatch is common in teenagers. But when it sits beside a claim this severe, it becomes terrifying, because it suggests a shallow understanding of harm. or worse, a willingness to treat harm like a game. And then the detectives return to the teen. Day is down, and the detective does not reveal everything. He does not need to. He says one thing. We found the missing items, and the teen immediately tries to reshape it. He suggests his friends must have robbed him. He tries to redirect guilt outward, but the detective cuts through it. Your friends gave us your things. They gave us the truth. Now you tell me what happened. This is the moment where many suspects collapse. But this teen does not collapse like a person in grief. He collapses like a person whose script has been taken away. He pauses. He goes quiet. And then something inside him shifts. Not remorse, not anguish, a kind of resignation that feels colder than denial. Fine, I will tell you what happened. This is the part where, in many stories, the confession is dramatic, full of sobs, full of regret, full of humanity. This is not that kind of confession. What follows is a chilling blend of self-justification and detachment. As he tries to control how his actions are perceived, even while admitting to them, he talks about a fight, claims he was hit, and insists he just snapped. He describes the act in a way that feels more like reporting than mourning. And the detective does what he has done all day. He keeps it grounded. When? Where? How? What did you do next? Where did you go? Who helped you out? What did you take? What did you throw away? And as the teen answers, the story becomes less about a single moment of rage and more about a chain of decisions afterward. Because even if someone tries to frame the act as impulse, everything after the act is choice to ide. Choice to stage, choice to leah. Choice to bring friends into it. Choice to ask them to dump items. Choice to keep moving through a school day like nothing happened. Here's where the horror takes an unexpected turn. The teen describes the cover-up like it's some kind of project, talking about how he made the burglary look convincing and how great it all appeared. He talks about performance, and then he asks about punishment, not like someone shattered, but like someone curious. Am I going to prison? How does it work if I am a minor? Not, what have I done? Not, can I see my mother? Not, I cannot believe this is real. He is thinking like a person who still believes consequences are negotiable. And now the detective reaches the emotional peak of the interrogation, not by yelling, not by threatening, but by forcing a moral mirror in front of him. He asks him, in essence, do you understand what you did? The teen keeps trying to make it about him, about being misunderstood, about being pushed, about being cornered. And this is where I need you to listen carefully, because this is the moment that applies far beyond this case. When someone commits something unforgivable, they often try to turn the story into a courtroom inside their own head where they are both defendant and judge. They try to create a logic where the act becomes inevitable. They try to manufacture a narrative where the world forced their hand. But honestly, there were so many chances to turn back before that moment. Chances that needed humility, asking for help, admitting weakness, and being truthful right from the start. And he did not take those exits. He built a tunnel instead, and he invited others into it. Then, in the final stage, the detective asks if he will take them to the location connected to the story. A church, a fire pit area, the place the friends mentioned. And the teen agrees. Not because he is sorry, because by then he knows they will find it anyway. On the way, his tone does not change into grief. It stays in explanation mode, like a tour guide of his own ruin. And when they arrive, he points. He describes. He gives orientation details. He speaks as if he is controlling the final chapter by being the one to show it. That is what makes this case so deeply unsettling. It is not only the act, it is the absence of what should come after the act. The sorrow, the shock, the horror at oneself. Without that, you are left staring at something emptier than anger, the climax of understanding. Because the true reveal in this story is not that a secret was hidden. It is that the secret could not stay hidden because too many people were pulled into carrying it. The teen thought he could stage reality. He thought he could transfer responsibility onto friends. He thought he could flood the world with details until nobody could see the outline of truth. But he underestimated one thing. Truth does not need to be clever. Truth only needs to be consistent. And lies, eventually, have to coordinate with other lies. That is what breaks them. At this point, if this message is hitting you, subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because if you can recognize manipulation, if you can recognize the difference between real emotion and performance, you protect yourself in ways you do not even realize. And we cover cases like this, not to sensationalize them, but to understand how these disasters form, how they spread, and how quickly a life can collapse when someone chooses narrative over truth. When the interrogation ends, people often want one clean answer. Was he evil? Was he sick? Was he pretending? Was he made? Was born? But reality is not clean, and that is why these cases haunt people. Because the pieces are messy, and the aftermath ripples outward. The friends who helped, whether they believed him or not, are now part of the story. They cannot erase the fact that they held items, dumped items, moved through the day with them, and only spoke when pressure arrived. They will live with the knowledge that they were close enough to touch the edge of something monstrous, and they did not step away fast enough. The investigators will remember the calm voice, the controlled posture, the way the teen tried to steer the room. They will remember how quickly he shifted from denial to explanation. They will remember how he treated the whole thing like something that could be managed if he spoke smartly enough. And the rest of us are left with the question that matters. How does a horrifying secret get built? It gets built one small lie at a time. One decision to hide instead of confess. One decision to control instead of surrender. One decision to recruit others instead of facing consequences alone. And here is the part that people rarely say out loud. There is a moment in many tragedies where the worst act is not the final act, but the first rationalization. The first time someone tells themselves, "I had no choice." The first time someone decides to rewrite what happened so they can live with it. Because once you can rewrite a small truth, you can rewrite a large one. Once you can perform regret, you can perform panic. Once you can stage a room, you can stage a life. And the world is filled with people who are not violent, but who still try to stage reality, who still try to manipulate perceptions, who still try to outrun consequences by controlling narratives. That is why cases like this go viral, not only because they are shocking, because they reveal something uncomfortable about human behavior. How easily people are fooled by confident storytelling. How quickly a room can be steered by someone who sounds certain. How dangerous it is to confuse explanation with innocence. So, here is the closing thought I want to leave you with. If you ever hear a story that feels too polished in the middle of chaos, pay attention. If you ever feel your instincts whisper that someone is performing, do not ignore that whisper. You do not need to accuse. You do not need to panic. But you should notice. Because sometimes the most horrifying secret is not hidden behind silence. Sometimes it is hidden behind a voice that will not stop talking. And now, a final invitation. If you want to keep going, watch another video where we break down how staged scenes are created, how investigators spot the difference between theft and sabotage, and how one tiny inconsistency can collapse an entire narrative. Because the more you understand these patterns, the harder it becomes for deception to survive around you. If you want, paste the exact title you will publish under and tell me the channel style you want. True crime documentary, police interrogation breakdown, or narrative mystery. And I will rewrite this into your exact voice while keeping it YouTube safe and maximizing retention.